live, Pierre.
Welcome back to another special early edition of the Hockey Nation live show. This is your co-host directly for the Sunshine State, and the sun is out. Welcome. This is the Coach Frenchy, and we have to go all the way to the West Coast to find the only one we have on the West Coast, the co-host Michael DeVillano.
Hey, Pierre. How are things going? We have another exciting week in hockey. There's still
great. We have did honestly did pretty good yesterday and also Saturday. First of all, you joined me Saturday for the special weekend. We call one. We have some stuff go around the league, right? And so we did Saturday together. And then Sunday, I decided to do Sunday morning, 11 o'clock Eastern time, because Sunday night I cannot do it. I was supposed to do a referee game, blah blah blah. And we did 2 hours yesterday morning, Michael.
Oh, wow.
It was pretty amazing. It was pretty good. People was show up. And then last night, they canceled my last game. So I came back online at 9 o'clock. And we did another 90 minutes live stream last night. So people participate a lot. And overall, we have a great weekend about the Hockey Nation live show. By the way, we crossed the 1,300 subscriber, Michael, during the weekend. So another 100. I mentioned I'm looking for 1,500 for the October 12 when the season starts, and go from there after that. Honestly, we're still missing a lot of viewers, but at the end of the day, I think the consistency of people show up. Now we go to lose the boys, the youngest boy like Bud the Monkey and the guy like Michael Rosenblatt and Dixon. They're all back at the school in USA. So they start this week, honestly. So we see Nicolas this morning because Nicolas is still go to school, but Nicolas he's in Quebec, so he don't have no school yet, I'm pretty sure. So, but that's happening during the weekend, and then we'll see what happens. But the consistency of the people, Michael, like the 15, 20 even night, that's great to see this in the morning. We have a few same people. Anthony Manzano show up the night now, Michael. So see Michael, to see Anthony participate a lot, and we wish the best for I know he's not listening right now, but Adam Berger, Michael, back to the school this morning. He was nervous about welcome the student, and many schools, Michael, never have those students for over 2 years now, or at least since 20 March, right? So we'll be interesting everybody back. But again, we welcome everybody. First of all, we welcome Nicolas directly from Sherbrooke. Kaden Jenkins back in the house this morning. And of course, the best, all the son, Patrick Bergeron, David Basnack, and Mr. Brett Marchand's son back in the house this morning. By the way, have an amazing, great dinner last night with his girlfriend, Michael. So we know he have a great dinner for him to be in Colorado and enjoy his time over there. So thanks, Pat, to be with us every morning and all evening. He's always show up at some time. So thanks to be a part of the show, Patrick, this morning. But again, Michael, it's a new Monday. It's a new week, and of course we are about 64 days before the season start. But the news getting a little bit more. It's going to be a busy week, Michael. It starts this weekend but first of all, because they have it's the week of the schedule of the RFA. So the people are example like Kevin Fiala, example for Minnesota, is on the schedule this week from August 11 to August 18. They are all the scheduled player RFA. They don't have no contract yet. So you can see this morning we have a couple of players signed this morning for the NHL. So
we have one big
Flyers, the Philadelphia Flyers signed the goaltender Carter Hart, a 3-year contract, 3.779 AAV for 3 years. He become, Michael, the biggest money for the RFA for the goaltender or something like that in the history. He's become the first one for the first bridge contract at that age for the goaltender. So that's what's happening. So he's going to be for the next 3 years. He's going to have another RFA after that. So Carter Hart signed with the Flyers.
Ordinarily, I'm super excited. Congratulations for Carter. he had a really bizarre year. I mean, this is a guy that's had nothing but success up until the last year, and he made a lot of changes off the ice that were unusual. You know, we've kind of have. He was obviously our goalie in Everett for a long time, and I don't know. I'm a little worried about him. I hope that he bounces.
He finished
back.
strong last year, Michael. During the last 5 games in the NHL last season, he had a 2.78 and a save percentage of 9.05 or 9.15, I believe. So he finished strong this season. I think
he's an elite product. Like he's one of those guys. He's definitely capable of being a top 10.
I'm not worried about. I'll be honest with you. I'm not worried about him.
Yeah, and he's a
I don't
great
think
kid.
so. I think the Flyers get a better teams now. They have a couple of new players. I think the COVID did not helping him. Some player, did not respond well. Some player did well. Some did not. I think that's the one over there. We did not see the true Carter Hart. Now, who we're going to see? The Carter Hart we see during the bubble or during the year we see last year? But I'm not worried about him. I think he's going to be fine about that. So. Now you have a new goaltender back up with him.
It's such a dramatic shift, Pierre. Like to see him over 6 years always succeed and always be the guy you can rely on. And he made some very dramatic changes off the ice. So I hope that those are now working out for him better because he parted with his mental toughness coach. He parted with a goalie coach. He changed everything. He kind of, switched everything up, and it didn't work out so well. So I hope that he's back on track. He's a very good person, and he's an excellent talent.
I think so too. So welcome, Kimberly, and directly from the West Coast in the Sunshine State somewhere. Hopefully her flat tire is fixed, Michael, and she's ready to rock and roll. Kimberly have a couple of little one play hockey, so
good.
That's fun to see this. So she just knew about hockey. She learning about hockey, everything like that. So big fan of the Tampa Bay and the Montreal Canadiens. So great to see her join us this morning. We missed her last night, I believe, or yesterday morning, something like that. Oh, Mr. Inner Tap back in the house this morning, Michael. Mr. Inner Tap last night. Wait a minute, Michael. Win the contest. We have a triple winner last night. Inner Tap, Ronnie Odette, and finally, Michael, for the first time, we do the Frenchy quiz. Mr. Adam Berger win also. We did no overtime. We just OT. Everybody win. 3 people win last night. So it was great to see those people step up and win Inner Tap. We won the best and the Frenchy quiz, to be honest with you.
Did you see in the Olympics where the 2 high jumpers split the medal?
The Olympics, I did not look.
Nobody really watched.
You, I'm one of the worst person you can talk about Olympic. I did not look about anything.
It was really. Michael Rosenblatt's joined us, and then
he's coming back. Right. Hey, Miss, hold on, Michael. Miss Lisa did the live show. Michael, if you want to learn about recipes and cooking and Mexican food, everything like that, she's the one. She's doing an amazing video, Michael. Every time I watch the video, I'm just running in my kitchen to cook. Yeah, she's doing an amazing, great job. One of the best, I'll be honest with you, on the YouTube channel. So I suggest everybody to watch her YouTube channel. Lisa D, the live show. Great music behind this, Michael. It's a short. It's about 1-2 minute video, but she gave you the taste jumping. The food is look great on video, be honest with you. So thanks, Lisa, to stop by to just say hi to us. So thank you so much about this.
Great. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Mexican food and everything like that. But seafood is amazing. Every time I see this, I'm like, wow.
Awesome.
You're welcome.
I have to check it out, Lisa D. So we'll have to check it out for sure. All right. So today we were going to review the really, overall what each of the GMs in the NHL has done. We're going to start this process with 3 GMs, the 3 teams in particular: Anaheim, Boston, and Vancouver Canucks. I don't know how did we land on these 3, by the way?
I'm sorry again.
What was the logic behind these 3? What's the thing between them? Because they're not in the same division, right?
No, we're just going for about 9-10 days. We're going to pick 3 teams per day, and they are not ranking by one division or something like that. We gave letters of after we talk about this for right now. We see Don Sweeney with Bob Murray, right, and Benning for Vancouver. So we'll give them after we talk about each team, give you an idea or an overview what they did as a manager. Some of them, Bob Murray, Michael is there forever with the Anaheim Ducks. You know what I mean? So we see Don Sweeney pick it up a couple of years ago, and then Jim Benning pretty good there. I think what 5-6 years now, 7 years.
Yeah, I think it is, because I think it goes back to, was Pettersson his first pick? So that might be like 2015 or 16 for Benning.
Yeah.
So it's been a little bit. Good morning, Chainsaw Man. And then Enertap is asking, do you think Ryan Pelling will start the lineup this year for the Montreal Canadiens? I'm not sure.
Honestly, he will be, Michael. I think he have a 1 year he have to go through. It will be this year. I would not be surprised he's going to be a part of that one over there. At least something happening about the situation about center. He's going to have a lot of chance. I think he will play at the beginning. I would not be surprised about that. Now he have a possibility to do it, right? Say up to him at that moment if he wants to do it or not, right? The chance are there now. Can he do it? I'm not sure. But I think it'll be interesting to see this because the chance is there, Michael. Kokanemi, second chance, J.K. Run, and then he's fighting at the third, fourth spot with, honestly, Cedric Paquette. So I think he's going to get, I wouldn't be surprised, Michael, that the roster is 23 players, right?
Yeah.
So he'll be a part of this roster. I passed the last 6 hours, Michael, to work on Norlander. Everybody, Michael, in Sweden are impressed by this kid over there. So I know you guys talk about a little bit. Johnny Golden talk about Norlander has to know about. Norlander, Michael, is doing amazing in Sweden. 6 foot, but Kristen Fallen and a couple of ex-NHL players play in NHL. They all play around him, or he's going to play scrimmage or anything like that. They just talk about great words about Norlander. Okay. So Norlander is coming. Is another Romanov for the quality hockey player, not the same style. I'm talking about can make it. I would not be surprised Norlander start the season with the Montreal Canadiens, Michael.
Yeah, so he plays on Frölunda, which is a very strong organization. There's a couple of there's 3, I think, Detroit Red Wings, maybe 4 on that team. Simon Edvinsson plays for them. Elmer Soderblom, the big centerman winger that we saw at the World Juniors, he's like 6'7". Lucas Raymond plays on that team, and I think Theodor Niederbach. So I think that's a great organization. If they're talking about him in that light, then that's very promising for him.
Yep. I think for me is going to be something about that. So I think it's a little bit, not a turnover, Michael, but it's a little bit like a twist a little bit. Weber is out. Dano is out. Tadar is out. Biron is out. So you have a couple of possibilities right now for the youngest step up and to go there, right? So I'm talking about Caulfield is there. Now they have Hoffman, but I'm talking about the youngest one. Montreal, Michael, have a lot of great prospect. They have a lot of forward. Montreal have a lot of prospect as a defenseman. We talk about Norlander. Talk about your body goalie and goalie. They got draft last year. We talk about the is it a grandbrother, whatever, Giovanni, whatever his grandbrother or something like that? You know what I'm talking about?
Fairbrother?
Yeah. So you have this guy. You have Harris in the Northeastern also. You have Brooks also as a defenseman over there. Norlander is another defenseman over there. I'm missing another one in my head right now. But that gives you an idea. Montreal on the defense, Michael, have a lot of good prospect. It's coming for the next 3 years. I think that's a good sign for the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you can never have too many D, as we see. Those are the guys that get signed first, and they get signed to big contracts now because they're so hard to get the top D. So if you're a top D, even if you're an average D, you got a pretty good opportunity in the NHL.
I agree with you about this, Tap. I think both of them will start our days around about that. I think that the only thing for me is good for Norlander, Michael. He played a lot of game against the men's. He played in the SHL for a couple of years now. Yeah. That we're helping him a little bit. What Romanov did with KHL. We know Palin, Michael, have a really good year last year in the American Hockey League until he hurt his wrist. But he have a great year. So I think let's see how he's going to show up at the camp and see what. But I believe he's going to be a part of this for the beginning. Now, can Mike Benjamin trade, get another center? We'll see about that. I think Tarek is on the target for the Montreal Canadiens. See if they can make a trade over there for sure.
Is for who?
Christian Vorak for the Arizona.
Dvorak, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Caden Gould, I really like. I don't know. Leskinen, who's Leskinen?
I don't think so. I wasn't impressed by Otto Leskinen last year. He came for one game. He's a good, but I think those youngers like goalie is another one step up over him. Being honest with you, Brooks, I believe is better for Leskinen. On my book, on my side, but again, maybe I don't know. I wasn't impressed by Leskinen when he played last year. He was really behind everything. But one game sometime you're nervous. Your first game in NHL, blah blah blah. So I don't know. Yeah. I was not impressed when he played for Montreal last season. So would be interesting about that one over there.
Yeah, I don't know too much about him. Obviously, Caden Gould, we've seen a lot. He's a very good prospect. He's a big guy. Real well. He's got to fill out a little bit, but I think he's got potential. You were mentioning RFAs, and I guess Jakub Vrana for Detroit has filed for arbitration, like a lot of players, or they filed for arbitration against him. He's asking for $5.7 million, and Detroit's asking for 3.6. So it'll be interesting to see what happens out of that. I think even at 5.7, it's pretty reasonable given what he's produced. Like the guy's produced big numbers, really.
I think at $4 million, 4.3 would be a good deal over there. 4 or 5 max.
That would be a great deal. But if he's at 5.7, I don't think that's overpaid for him. I mean, the guy's had 84 goals in 295 NHL games. He's had 224 in a 25-goal season. He had 19 last year in 50 games. So he's a pretty proven offensive goal-scoring producer, and he's just getting started. So even at 5.7, I'm not worried about that. He might be their top scorer next year, Pierre.
Well, I think at that moment, 5.7 is a lot of money, to be honest with you, on that situation. The problem right now for me, that's not a problem. The situation where he's in the bad situation right now, Michael, this year is the last year as a RFA. Yeah. So he become a UFA after that. So maybe the discussion right now is maybe not about this year. It's maybe a little bit a long-term contract or something where Eisenman said, look, we're going to give you maybe $5 million, but give us 2 years where you can skip your first year UFA sometime. Does that make sense?
Yeah. If you look at his numbers, Pierre, this guy's like a stud. Like, he's probably their top offensive player. That's what's crazy about the trade, because for him to get Leddy, this guy, and then Kosa is pretty awesome. And you look at his numbers, like if you compare this to Mantha's making 6, Larkin's making 6, Bertuzzi just got 5, and he's probably offensively got more points than all of them. So
yeah,
he's a pretty. I still can't believe he got him. But they must have known. I think part of it, looking at that, is if you know that he's going to get that type of money and you're Washington, you're not prepared to pay him and play him, that's probably part of it. And they probably thought Mantha was going to be like a franchise type guy, which I don't see that.
Well, I think that Mantha plays center sometimes.
What's that?
Is it Mantha plays center?
He can, but yeah, he mainly is a right winger.
Okay.
Morning, Zachary.
The key about the Rana, Michael, I'm watching him, all right? Since like 18, 19, so I'm talking about 3 years until this season, right? He have an average of 14 minutes, 35 seconds, and
no ice time.
Too high. Now he go to Detroit, Michael. He has 17 minutes. Now we know he scored 4 goals, I believe, one game, right?
Yeah, and he had 8 goals in this 11 games.
So take him like 3 goals over there. So you have 5 goals about in 10 games. So it's gave him about 35, 30 goals. So Mike, I'll be honest with you, for what I see right now, he have a chance to score 25 to 30 goals with the Detroit Red Wings. So
easy.
Here the problem I see. The problem for me is like, okay, he's going to get how we can deal with him. Can we give him a 2 years where he can have a $5 million, and then after that he become UFA, or you sign him alone because he's going to be your best player for the next couple of years.
I think he is offensively. Like, I don't see anybody, like, if Bertuzzi gets similar production, it's in a different way, right? Like, he's just like going to grind it out and he's going to get his goals, but he's got the most upside of all these guys. Like, Larkin's not a first line centerman.
Yeah, we'll be really interesting about that. Welcome, Mr. Zachary West, back in the house this morning. I agree with you. Settle at 4.5, 4.7 maybe it could be. But my point to you, Michael, like I mentioned in our tap, is the contract is a 1 year, 2 years, because he's not going to go 3 years, Michael, because now he's losing 2 years on UFA. So
I don't know why, like, if that's the number he's asking for, like, to me, sign this guy for 4 years, 24 million. You're not going to regret it. It's not like he's unproven. He's not 20. He's a little bit older, and he's showed you last year what he can do without top players. And I think it's a pretty good. What's the ceiling? He's already hit it, frankly. I don't think there's any upside for Dylan Larkin. He is what he is. I mean, I think he's a second line centerman, and he has a hard time cracking 20 goals. He's fast, but he's not creative. He gets stuck in patterns in the game, and he's a very good player, and the guys like him, but he's not like a 100-point or an 80-point guy, in my opinion. He had one 30-goal season, but so did Athanasiou. So they all.
I believe, Michael, he can listen. He have 63 points, 73 points, 53 points. He could have get 60 points. The kid can score. He can make 60 points per game, per year.
Dylan Larkin?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just the goals, right? Like, if you look at, he's more consistently under 20 goals.
Or he would become me a 22, 25 goal maybe, but right. More assists. Like, he's going to get a 30 points. Assists. So if Rana can score, Bertuzzi can score with him, he's going to be effective. I think, injury last year didn't bother him a little bit. But again, he have 23 points, 44 games. So mention about another, he go a little bit lower, but the team at some point, maybe the injury, everything like that. But I believe if the kids can score 20, 24 goals and 60 points. So if you think about this, Michael, and this is a great question, first of all, in our tap. But Michael, I think let's give us an idea here. He's $6.1 million, right? And then Bertuzzi signed at 4.7. Both of them are the same age like Vrana. Right. And I think for me, it's Vrana is between both of them, close to 6.1. So I believe me, a 5.3 to 5.5, I think that will respect what Eisenman works. Michael, you don't give big contract to anybody else. He does not want to give anybody big over the bank, everything like that. So for me, and plus he's going to get a $5 million next year for Frank Nelson to be out. So sorry, begin. I think Dick Ezer is already out, or he's going to be out after that. So it's $10 million for me. If he can sign him for $6 million for a year, that'd be a really good deal,
saying, right, Pierre?
For them.
That's what I was saying. Like, I think he's asking 5.7 in arbitration, and Detroit's saying 3.6, and I'm like, sign the guy to 4 years, 24.
Yep.
Because I think it's a very low risk. Like, if you're paying Dylan Larkin 6, Dylan Larkin has not consistently been the offensive producer that Vrana's been.
I'll be honest with you, Michael. I would be a little bit more, not more generous, but I would give you one more thing. I would try to sign him for 5 years at 6.5.
Yeah. But even if you did, I could see him doing that. Like, I think for him, he feels like he maybe has upside. I don't know. I think what he's asking is very reasonable. I'm actually surprised they're going to arbitration.
I think he's all right about this, Michael, about Larkin will be 70-point player with a great team. I think so, too. I think sometimes, Michael, some player like him could be affect also when you have a lot of pressure carry on when you become the one of the top best player, right? You have other players over you. Some players step more or they feel better and not to be the best of the best for the pressure he can get. I'm not saying that's his case, but I think for me, if he can get I think Vrana is going to helping him with Perduzi and additional player like another 1 or 2 more player in the next 1-2 years. I think that we're helping him. And this year, Michael, Detroit, it's a really turnaround. When I'm talking about, they add more prospect is coming now inside that organization as a defenseman, every time that. So I think right now another good rookie year from the goaltender Nedeljkovic, every time that. I think that'd be a good year to see what they are, the Detroit Red Wings, Michael.
Yeah, I don't know why. I just don't. When I watch him game in, game out, to me, he's better suited on the second line. If you had a top line guy, I don't feel like he's a top line centerman. The year he had 73 points, everybody scored on that team. Like, he had a big year. He had, a big year from Athanasiou at 30 goals. And we've seen what's happened with him. Nyquist was still there. Mantha was in for most of the season. So I think it really helped. And you had a great breakout year from Tyler Bertuzzi that year. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I feel like he overachieved here. I think, to me, if he gets 20 goals and 40 assists, you're very happy.
I think have a lot more go where he's supposed, but I think for me, it's going to be a 22 goal example, a 35 assists. So you talk about 60, 65 point, Michael. He should be in that area in my book.
I totally agree. That's why I say if he's a 20 goal, 40 goal assist guy, then you're pretty comfortable, but that's not a first line center.
And that's good about this is a $6.1 million. I think it's good to get that one over there. And I think that'd be good.
And I agree with you, Intertap. Like, they have 2 excellent players here. Like, Roenick is by far their best D right now. He's had very good offensive production, 80 points in 167 games. He's very consistent defensively. He's a right shot defenseman. He played great with the other Czechs. So I think they'll get it done, obviously. There's no issue.
I think for Roenick, Michael, he's 23. So you can get a bridge contract for 3 years until he get the UFA after that. And I think at $3.5 million for max, you can get him.
If you look at him and you go, listen, in a full season, this guy is a 10 goal, 35 assist guy. I mean, look at what these defense, like, that's numbers. Like, Seth Jones just got 9 point something and has those types of numbers.
Yeah, but they are like 26, 27, 28, those guys usually. The only one you get at that young age, you have 2 players, Werenski and Makar, and he's not at that same level at that moment.
No, I don't think well.
I know.
He's probably a step below those guys. Werenski's got a lot of goal scoring ability. Defensively, he might be as good or better than Werenski, but it's the offense, like the offensive upside for Werenski. But if you look at Darnell Nurse and Seth Jones contracts at 9, like, this guy's a $6 million defenseman.
But again, Yzerman is not going to give this to him. He will not give that one for sure about that one there. Coach, do you have a date for the fantasy draft now? I'm waiting, Michael. It's going to be more like October because, Michael, we have to see what's going on around the league, everything like that. So, Michael, Devinel, just let you know, because I'm talking with Michael Rosenblatt, but just let you know, we start a fantasy hockey on the ESPN, and the people sign up right now. So I just want to mention that's why the question. So it's going to be late to be sure we have the right thing.
I think Suzuki could.
He will.
I think he'll get more goals.
He will.
He could get more points. I mean, Larkin, we've seen him hit 60.
About this year, I'm not sure about this year, but I thought it was a little bit longer. Like
long term, I think Suzuki for sure.
Yeah.
Overall, it's a weird. They're just a little different. Larkin has ridiculous speed. He's physically, like, pretty strong. He gets big minutes for that team in key situations. Suzuki has a much better shot, but he's not as fast. Like, Larkin's a pretty special skater. To me, I would, Suzuki's tools, though, will get him more points.
But it's also, you talk about a player like 4 years different, Michael, right now. A player playing the NHL for years compared to one he's just there for 2 full regular season, right? So I think it's hard to compare that part of there. I don't know, I'll be honest with you, but I think you have to be there, wait a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's definitely a little bit of an age difference, but
Well, I think, Michael, is 11:30 again. We're going to go strap like about 10 minutes per team maximum, every time like that. And you can sharing what you think about that. And then at the end, gave you great about Bob Murray, every time like that, if that's what you're looking forward to do.
Yeah. All right, so just looking at their lineup first off, and then I want to look at their draft and then their cap situation. These are the players they currently have under contract. So you can see right at the top of the food chain, their top forward right now is 5.8 million, which is Adam Henrique. He's got 3 years left on this deal. Jakob Silverberg is 5.2. Rickard Reichel's got 1 year left at 3.8. They re-signed Getzlaf for 3 million, Pierre.
Yeah,
that seems like a lot of money for what he's brought the last few years. That seems like a lot of cash to me. Sonny Milano is interesting. I mean, he's been a complete washout in the NHL. Can't catch on anywhere. The Derek Grant contract's pretty reasonable, and then they have all these young guys that really have taken different periods of time to reach. But the guys you've got to be interested in are the Max Joneses, the Max Comtois. Alexander Volkov looked really good. We're still
signed up this weekend. Sam Steele and Isaac Ladenstrom for a contract this weekend. So
yeah, and Lundestrom hasn't really hit his stride yet. He's a pretty good player, but we don't know what he is yet. Is he a third line player? Is he a second line player? I don't think he's a first line player. Max Jones is probably kind of like a lowercase Tom Wilson without the craziness, but very similar, like bull in a china shop, power forward. Covers up mistakes that he makes because he's physically really strong and aggressive. Comtois had a great year last year, Pierre, in the shortened season. It'll be interesting to see what he gets because he had really good numbers for them overall. And Sam Steele, it's weird. I just don't think he has the offensive pop. So we haven't seen him hit big numbers yet. So he doesn't get a very big contract here. He gets a 1-year bridge really for $874. On D, this has always been what people talk about as their strength. So really, they have 5 defensemen signed right now, Pierre. Cam Fowler, very solid defender, but he's getting up there. He's the top guy at 6.5. Hampus Lindholm has had injury problems, but he's got UFA status next year. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with him. Another left shot defenseman. He's 27 now, Pierre. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Josh Manson will be 30 this year, and he's 4.1. So they have 2 impending unrestricted free agents. They're getting old on D. The guy that you don't see here is Jamie Drysdale. And we saw Drysdale make the team last year at the end of the season, and he looks like he's maybe their top guy. He looks so good. Shattenkirk, 2 more years at 3.9, and then Jakob Larsson, who's played a little bit. So if in net, we know they have John Gibson, but he's 28 now, Pierre. So he's no longer a young prospect. He's getting up there. He's signed long-term at 6.4, which is fairly reasonable, but his numbers have definitely not been what you would expect. So I don't know. They've had reasonable success, but not overwhelming success. Now, the young players that are coming up are what you're excited about. Trevor Zegras looks like a number 1 center in the NHL. Jacob Perreault looks like he could be a top 9 type player. Just depends. He's going to need some time. Braden Tracy was an overage. This is where I get really nervous, Pierre, where you get these overage guys and you draft them when they're like a late birthday and then they get picked. And Braden Tracy had a great year in the WHL, got a fairly high draft pick. He's kind of regressed a little bit, and I'm not sure where this guy fits. Benoit Gru, still, so you got some guys that the jury's a little bit out on forward. But for sure, Zegras is a top player. On D, Drysdale is the guy, right? This is the guy that you're looking at. This is your franchise defenseman, and you're not too worried about any of these other pieces. So, I think opening night, you're going to have Jamie Drysdale. I'll note Brendan Gooley's getting old, but, he's had a lot of injury problems. If he could get his health together, he could be an effective top 6, right? Like a 5-6, he's capable of doing that. He came over in Buffalo from the Brandon Montour trade. So I think that's potential for them, but not you're not looking at him as a franchise guy. And if you look at their draft this year, I really like what they did in the draft this year. They moved up and took Mason McTavish. I think this is going to be a great pick for them. Yeah, Shattenkirk at $4 million is a lot. He can play top 4, but ideally you want him as a 5, right? Getzlaf was going to Montreal with Perry. I don't know, man. He does not want to leave the beach, guys. I think he got too much money. Why would you leave Anaheim if Anaheim's giving you $3 million to do not much?
I'm not agree with that one there as a gold second liner. Getzlaf is almost like an Eric Stahl now. He's just kind of player like him, like Joe Thornton. You can see those guys, Michael. The more or longer that the season was advanced, you can see Joe Thornton is going down. And I think Getzlaf right now, $4 million too much money. He's going should be the third, fourth line at any team in NHL. He can bring some power play, you know. But at the end of the day, you know, if you put Perry on the second line, you're in trouble in NHL right now.
You're in big trouble.
For me, it's not. For me, I don't believe this part. I think Montreal is better without them. For me right now, Michael, they should the Montreal make the playoff, Michael, of 50-50, lost maybe 30%. Why not to let those guys like Poland and those young rookies or the young guy in the organization to play more game and everything like that? I stuck with Eric Stahl and Getzlaf or those guys all year long. I think for my philosophy for me at that moment will be that way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think Getzlaf, if you've watched him in Anaheim, he's been in coast mode for years. His weight fluctuates, his intensity fluctuates a little bit. His skating and his age have caught up to him. He's not a top 9 player, in my opinion. And he got a lot of money last year to not be a top 9 player. And now
5 goals, Michael, in 48 games last year.
9 million. And now they gave him 3. I thought they were going to give $1 million, Pierre.
Michael, I will give you just a good stat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 years ago, he scored 25 goals. Since that, never scored.
Yeah, he's
20 goals and more. He's never reached more 15 goals, Michael.
I think this is a mistake contract for them. I don't think they're getting big numbers out of Silverberg. Henrique is a best of second line centerman on an okay team. Reichel has not hit his stride offensively for a while. He's kind of been up and down like a yo-yo. Milano can't even play every day. So you look at, while they have room here, I think the best days are the young players. So you're counting on Zegras, Comtois, you're counting on Drysdale. Those are the guys that you're looking forward to. I like the pick of Mason McTavish. I think that's going to be very beneficial to them long term. He just kept getting better, and when we saw him at the U18s, he was really good. So for me, though, overall, on the draft side, they've done a very good job the last 3 years. And they've done a good job pulling together prospects. I don't like the coaching situation. I think they're wasting John Gibson's best years. They've got a bunch of defensemen that are going to be UFA.
Can I stop you, Michael, here?
Yeah.
All right. So you're on the draft right now, 2020 first round pick. Who he was?
Drysdale.
Okay. So Drysdale, Michael, got for the Boston Bruins, they got Andre Case. In return, Anaheim got David Backes, Axel Anderson, and the first round pick 2020.
But that's not the Drysdale pick, is it?
Yes.
No, it's not, because that was their own pick. The other, it's the Perreault pick.
I'm sorry?
I think it's the Jake Perreault.
Anaheim acquired David Backes, Axel Anderson, a 2020 first round pick.
Yeah, that's the Jacob Perreault. That's not Jamie Drysdale's pick. I'll show you. Yeah, I'll show you.
He picked 2 times?
Yes. So this pick, you can see the trade is Axel Anderson, David Backes for.
Oh, you have 2 pick on that trade. Okay.
Right.
Okay. You have 2 pick on that one over there.
Exactly.
All right.
Yep. But I mean, so that was a good trade, that worked out very well for them. And I think Perreault's got potential to play in the NHL. I don't know what he'll be, but he looks like he's not like a super fast skater, but he's a good centerman. He can score a little bit. So overall, they've done a very good job with those moves, trying to get younger. They're in a weird situation on the roster. If you look at just the draft, Pierre, you go, really like McTavish. I love the Olin Zellweger pick. I like Drysdale. Looks like he's ready to play now. He played great at the end of the year. Perreault looks like he could play in the NHL. Colangelo's talented. Trevor Zegras looks like a number 1 centerman.
Yeah. Mike, my point is, like, when I want to talk about this, like, Michael, it's more about talking about the GM, like what the homework they did for the last year. Like Bob Murray's been there for 12 years. The team make only that because if we talk about the team, we don't talk about the GM ranking
Yeah.
now. You're going to talk about only because we want to do that exercise in
Well,
September. Does it
I
make
mean, we're
sense?
talking about the transactions and the draft, right? So for me, I don't know. Like, I think he's been kind of a C plus at best. They've not had a lot of success. There's a lot to look forward to with what they've been doing the last 3 years, but they're wasting guys that are not that old. Like Gibson's not that old. Fowler's like getting up there. Lindholm's not that old. They've got some guys that are going to disappear, and they're not going to get the benefit out of their play. Like they're going to have to move them to get younger pieces in, and they've got all these UFA guys. It's kind of weird. Like you're going to lose Reichel, you're going to lose on D. You've got two key D, right? You've got Josh Manson and Lindholm, and they're not. They've been kind of middling. They're not getting a lot out of these guys.
Do you think he was not there when they won the Stanley Cup, right?
No, that was Brian Berg.
Yeah, that's what I thought about this. So when he came here, Michael, they first of all, the last 4 years, they never made the playoff, right?
Right.
The last time they made the playoff is 17, 18. They lost the first round. Then before that, they lost in conference final. Then they lost in first round. Then conference final, second round, conference cup. So, but again, since like they never win anything really, really with him since he's over there. I think earlier he picked up a good team for what Berg gave to him. Does it make sense?
That's it. I think he was the assistant GM for Brian Berg, and he took over. And they've never, it's been 14 years, Pierre, and they have never had that success again. They've been, coasting with guys that are just good enough not to have an impact. So I think that's why I say I give him like a C plus. The only reason he gets a C plus is because of the last 3 years of the draft. You can see there's a lot of really good young players coming. Like Max Comtois has popped through. Max Jones looks good. Lunderstrom looks like he can play every day. Now you got Zegras, you got Drysdale. So, but it remains to be seen. What does this end up as? Is it, and I don't like the coaching decisions they've made.
I like the fact, and our top said that part over there. Like they are a mix of youth and older veteran. I think for me, I would not give him more a C because he gave Shea Theodore, Frederick Anderson. You know what I mean? He gave a lot of good players. I believe he didn't get a lot in return. And I'm missing another defenseman. Is it not Van Tenen was there?
Yeah, Vatanen was here. Yep, absolutely.
Right. And I think one thing, it's hard, Michael, when you have two good players like Perry and Gessler, right? I think sometimes some GM, they are good. They trade them at the right time with that young age. And those teams keep them. I think they were stuck with the $8.2 million for years after years after years. That would be I think it was not the time they signed for a 12 years contract.
Yeah, it was something ridiculous, Pierre. These guys, if you're in the community here, you see them at the beach all the time playing volleyball. Okay, like they've been retired for 10 years. They won the cup, and then that was kind of it. So it was like 06, 07, they won the cup, Pierre.
Yeah.
Like the guys that were there that drove that were Chris Pronger and Scott Niedermayer. Well, Scott Niedermayer's kids have just, been drafted, right? Like that's how long ago it is. Like Josh is, his kids are like in the Anaheim Junior Ducks program. So, and by the way, Scott looks like he could play now, but he's not, I don't know. The last few years have been rough. He had a good
something I was so why I gave him all this C, Michael. Anaheim this year, they add anything. They don't add any players, and they let go Denton, Aiden Fleury, and Andy Walensky. The only player they signed like a minor is like Greg Panarin, but they didn't do anything to add more. The fact they sent a slam. So for me, to lose Fleury is a big over there. And they also lost, they let it go Denton, Aiden. So that's for me. That's the reason I gave him only a C, and I will look him maybe.
I just said the same thing. I said C plus at best because I think I gave him C plus because of the guys that are coming. So with Zegras and Drysdale and maybe Perreault, great. This could turn out okay because I think Drysdale showed the end of last year he can be really good, but you're wasting a lot of guys' years. And I think Enertap hit it on the head. There's a gap between the young guys and the old guys, and there's nothing in between. So I don't know. I think that there's we'll see. I don't see much going on here. All right, let's look at Boston because maybe that's a little bit more exciting. We're going to run out of time here. So Boston had a busy offseason. And I think overall, let's start with the draft. They get Fabian Lysell, who I think is a pretty good prospect for them. We know they've traded away their picks in the past. John Beecher is still in the system. Axel Anderson, I think is he in Anaheim now? Is that what we said? And then you got Vakinen. So the guy that is going to pop through, we saw Swayman pop through, and we saw Stunica, but they are absolutely not relying on the draft. Charlie McAvoy is their best defenseman, and he was drafted in 2016. Before that was the first Don Sweeney draft, and they got Brandon Carlo out of it. They got Jeremy Lauzon out of it. They got Vladar as a backup, who's now moved on. DeBrusque has had a middling to disappointing career. Senyshyn and Zabro had a hard time keeping into the NHL. And the guys they gave up there were like Dougie Hamilton and then Tyler Seguin. And they passed on Matthew Barzal.
It was his first year as a GM, right?
Yeah.
So he's there for 6 years since he's been there as a team over there. How many times they made the playoff and every time they won the division, they won the President Cup, right? Since he's there.
Yeah, for sure. And it's been absolutely driven by the Bergeron, the Pasternak, obviously has turned out great. But who drafted Pasternak? I don't even know. Let's take a look here. Where was Pasternak drafted? Was he 2014? So it might have been before him. Let's take a look.
As a GM, the first year he showed up, Michael, they did not make the playoff.
Yeah. And so if you look, 2014, I believe, was still Peter Chiarelli.
Yeah.
Right?
He showed up in 15, 16 for his first year. He kept Julien. Then after that, he fired Julien for Cassidy during the second year as a GM at 16, 17. Since that, he did not miss the playoff. They lost in first round, second round. The last Stanley Cup final, Michael, 3 years ago. And then they lost second round the last 2 years for the Boston Bruins. But a lot of players, he was already there before he showed up. He picked it up. Everything from Peter Chiarelli, like you said. I mean, that's what he did. But I think overall, he did a pretty good. I think Cassidy with him, with Don Sweeney, that is a great job over there.
Overall, you've got to look like not everything is about the draft, right? So if you look at this lineup, he didn't draft Pasternak, but Pasternak's obviously developed during his tenure. He did draft McAvoy, and he's their top D. He did draft Carlo. And the other pieces are kind of piecemeal, right? Like he's made a bunch of free agent signings. He drafted DeBrusque, who's, probably got to be traded at some point because he's not the player that you want him to be consistently. But most of these other pieces, he's either signed or traded for. And I think he had a really pretty good offseason. Like he signed the 2 goalies. I like the Allmark signing. He signed
one goalie, right?
He signed 1 or 2. Oh yeah, with Swayman, he signed Allmark as the 1 goalie. He re-signed the defenseman Mike Riley. He made the trade for Charlie Coyle, which I think has worked out for them. And then he re-signed Taylor Hall. So overall, you've got to think this team is built for now. He brought in Eric Hall to try to firm up. They know they lost Krejci. I think.
So what happened to Michael is this part. He got Linus Ullmark, Nick Foligno, Eric Ola, Thomas Nosek, and Derek Forbert.
All veteran guys. This team is built for now to try to win.
And they lost Krejci, Ritchie, Halak, Case, Lauzon, Miller, Corelli, and Dinardi.
There's not a lot going on there for the future.
I think he's going to missing 2 players there. I think Krejci and Lauzon, but Lauzon he get changed by forward, but nobody they pick as a forward is the level at David Krejci.
For sure. I think that they're going to have to deal with the second line center situation at some point. There's a lot of money tied up in Charlie Coyle at $5+ million. he's not consistently an offensive producer to play second line, but we're going to find out. He's capable athletically, but he's never done it. And I think Haula is a really reliable player, but he gets injured a lot. So it's going to be interesting. Nick Foligno's older. He's not going to get the production you want, and he's a little bit overrated. Craig Smith was a good signing, but again, this is an older guy, Pierre. He's not young. We know they have Jack Stanichka, but Stanichka is like 22 now, Pierre. He's not that young. So I don't know. It's overall, you've got to give them. They've done very well during the regular season. They've had a run to the Stanley Cup final. I think that Tuukka Rask will come back at some point, but right now Swayman looks like he's an excellent, NHL goalie. I like the Linus Ullmark signing. I still think you probably bring back Rask. It's going to be tough without Krejci. I think they're going to realize how much they missed this guy, and they'll have to make another transaction. Long-term prognosis for this team is not great. Like they don't.
I think for what Enordab said, I think Ulmark Michael is a good goaltender. I think I would not be worried about Ulmark as a goaltender with Boston Bruins. I think he never been with a team like solid team like them.
Right.
So I think he's going to be good. A good fit over there. Swimmen look like he showed up like last year. We'll see how he look like. But I think for me a B would be good for him. For Sweeney. Overall, I think he's did pretty good overall, at least for this year also. But I think B for me, Michael, would be my letters for him.
I think that's where I'm at with him. I think he's a B. I think that there's nothing in the pipeline, Pierre, for the future. Everything is for the now. And that's the problem. Long term, they're going to ride it right into the sunset with Marchand, Bergeron, Pasternak, and maybe that's the way to do it. And I know
the second thing, Michael, I would say to you about this, one organization in the professional NHL does well is the salary cap. The salary cap, the way they control their contract is one of the best in NHL, Michael.
For sure. But their owner, Jeremy Jacobs, is like the head of all the owners and the governors meetings. He's a pretty powerful owner in the NHL, and he's pretty thrifty, right? So I think that's consistent with the way he wants to run things. Yeah. All right, well, let's look at Vancouver before we run out of time here. So Vancouver overall, like this, they've made some moves in the offseason. The Connor Garland trade, I think, will actually prove to be very good for them. We saw him in Phoenix. He's a very effective winger, kind of like a lowercase DeBrincat. He's not quite a DeBrincat, but he's got that similar body type and style. I like the move to bring in. I thought it was interesting that he brought in Brandon Sutter, or brought back Brandon Sutter at 1.1. I think that'll help them on the third line. Niels Höglander looks like an excellent pick. Like this guy looks like he's a top talent. If you watch him, he's a very, very skilled player, and he's going to be impactful offensively. So I like this. JT Miller was a great move to bring him over from the Rangers. He's performed very well for them. But again, this is a guy that at 5.2, if he can get you 60, 70 points, you're pretty excited. The trade for Bo Horvat, which was prior to Jim Benning, has proven to be very good. He's their captain. He's a pretty consistent offensive producer. And Brock Besser is a point-a-game player. So this is another really good player to have on their roster. The biggest piece to this that you don't see that has to be signed is Elias Pettersson. And I think this is the biggest testament to Jim Benning. This guy was picked 5th overall. He's absolutely the best player from his draft. So he's got a franchise player. He had a little bit of trouble last year, but I think it was because he had a bit of a hangover from a long playoff run, and we know he had an injury. But long-term, like this is like a franchise player that he's just such a talented shoot-first player, can also play make, really effective guy. So this is a great pickup through the draft. The other big draft pick that he had was obviously Quinn Hughes. So he's making a lot of teams that pick, like, let's look at Detroit, pick Zadina, which I really like Zadina, but they pick Zadina ahead of Quinn Hughes, and Quinn Hughes is one of the top young defensemen in the game. He made the Oliver Ekman-Larsson trade, which at 7.2, when I look at that number now, Pierre, in light of guys like if Doug Hamilton's getting 9 point something and you're paying Ekman-Larsson 7.2, I'm not so worried about it. We have to see a little bit better from Ekman-Larsson than we did the last year. but we know that he's capable of getting 10, 12 goals, 25, 30 assists, and that's what you want from him. So I think this is an upgrade over Edler. Overall, they have pretty good depth on D. We know Levy's never really panned out the way that they want for such a high draft pick, but I don't think that's the end of the world. And then in net, Thatcher Demko's really turned out quite good. I think he saw the writing on the wall with Holtby, and they tried to upgrade that backup position with Halak, and that's probably a smart bet for $1.5 million. And then if you look at players that are on the up and coming, we know they got Vasily Podkolzin. He looks, I don't know what he'll be, Pierre, but he's at the worst, he's kind of like a third line guy that can flex up to the second. He's more like a North American player the way he plays. Like, he's not your traditional Russian winger where he's going to be playing on his off wing and shooting the puck and using fancy moves. He's more of an aggressive, physical guy. He forechecks really well. So this could be a good pick for them. I'm not sure if there's anything else coming up that I'm really excited about on the defensive side or in net. Most of the best young players are already on the roster. If we look at their draft, they had traded away their first pick, so they didn't have a pick into the second with the Belarusian player. Same thing last year. They traded their first and their second, Pierre. So the last first-round pick they've had is Podkolzin, and then the second-round pick was Höglander, who's actually, I think, probably better than Podkolzin at this point. So I don't know. Overall, it's kind of weird. I wish the guy would stop trading his picks.
Well, first of all, it's like he was the most busy this summer. He had 15 moves. He bring in Gallen, Dickinson, Alak, Ekman Larson, Gil Giuseppe, Darling, Pullman, and Luke Chen. He lost Schmidt, Etler, Holby, Chatfield, Roussel, Eriksson, and Jay Beagle. So he was really, really busy this summer after a disaster year as a GM. He almost lost his job last season. That's what it more for me is like I'm looking for. It's about what he did overall about that one there. On the flip side, also, if you look about this, that team sent 12 and 13. So we talk about almost 8 years, Michael. They only win one round in playoff.
Wow.
And this for a team in Canada, that's not good enough to performing. So he went in 1920, and I'm talking about, Michael, was the bubble year. Does it make sense? So they came in after that. And the bubble to win the first round, it was a best of 5, and then that's it after that. So since that, Michael, that team did not win for a long time. And since you have to go all the way, the last Stanley Cup with and again the Boston Bruins when Vigneault was there. They changed Vigneault for Tortorella for 1 year, Desjardins after that, and Green. Is it 7 years for Jim Benning is there, I believe?
Is it that long now?
Yeah, I think it's 7 years, 6-7 years. So he's been there about, Michael, since like 13, like Tortorella, when Desjardins show up. That's the way I believe Benning was there. And since that, Travis Green, I always like him, but the team do not perform very well on the Pacific Western. Never reached, Michael, with Davis Green, Michael. Never more at 81. Like he never reached more at only last 2 years ago. He got 78.69 game when the COVID stopped. But he has always been below 500, Michael. So I'm a little bit concerned about Davis Green overall. I know he's a good coach. I know he's doing well, but performance-wise or the outcome, since he's there, he reached in 4 years, he's only reached over 500 one time.
Yeah, they had a great playoff run, and then they missed the playoffs, right? So I like on paper the moves he's made. You're right, like he lost Tanev, he lost Markstrom the year before. I think that, it's hard because when you're moving on from 2 franchise players like the Sedins, you're bound to have some bad years. So I get that. And they had a Stanley Cup run that they lost in the final. So I get that. And we see that's really tough. And then last year they had a good run in the shortened year. So I think overall you've got to say, I like the Pettersson. I like Hughes. He keeps trading away draft picks, Pierre. He's lost top players. He's filled in gaps for sure. I got to give him kind of like a B minus, C plus, maybe C. I don't know. I think C is probably the right number or letter. It's maybe C is the right letter because they don't win.
Yeah, I think that's where he is. That's the reason why I agree with depth. I would give him I will say him a C minus.
Yeah, you might be right. I mean,
I cannot give him more of this because the way they show up right now, I don't think so. You know what I mean? Like if you win only a rounds playoffs since you're a GM, you have a problem there.
I think you're right. You know, like on paper, okay, I kind of like them on paper, but they got to win, you know? And I think Travis Green is not a new coach anymore. I like Besser. I like Miller. I like Hughes. You know, I think Hughes has got some stuff to work on. I like Horvat. I like Höglander. I like Pettersson. Like when I look at them on paper, I like them. But there's just, you know, there's a big drop off after that and the results don't add up.
I think at that moment, I'll be honest with you, Michael, is a big year for them.
Yeah, it's very important. The Nate Schmidt trade didn't really work out for them. You know, they missed out. They didn't bring back Tanev. They would have been better to bring back Tanev, better to hold on to Markstrom. I think that they just kind of missed the boat a little bit.
I just want to mention a breaking news, but it's not a big thing. But the Pittsburgh Penguins, I don't know if you follow the play-by-play. We talking about Mike Lange. I don't know if you know him. Mike, he's been there for the Pittsburgh since like the Igloo was built in Pittsburgh. After 46 years as a broadcasting for the Pittsburgh Penguins, I know he's going to be retiring from his play-by-play duties right now. So Elvis just left the building.
Yeah, that's crazy.
If you remember, he called all the goals like Lemieux and those guys like this. He's done bad, Michael, since almost like 70s. So it's pretty amazing to see him. So I think it's good to mention a guy like that make an impact overall. So
I think Jim Benning, by the way, this is make or break for him. They got to make the playoffs or this guy's gone.
Oh yeah, definitely. They got a new they survived right this year. Because I think COVID-19 didn't hit them badly, and that's maybe moved them. But it's a big, and I think you mentioned earlier the fact they lost Maxstrom and Danev did not help them. You have a chance to rebuild about that. You know, the reason why I'm a little bit concerned is about, okay, can Pedersen go to a bridge contract, or they sign like what McCall did, everything like that? That would be surprised about this, but Hughes did not show me enough yet to get that kind of money.
He's got problems in his game. He's a small defensive points, but he's one-on-one. That's a problem. He's weak.
Thank you so much, Tap. Have an amazing, great day, by the way, Tap. But I think for us, it will be the end also. We reached the 12 o'clock, and then I think we have to go for everybody. We'll be live tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. The Power Play Show back tonight, Monday to Friday. Look forward to see each one of you. We'll talk about fantasy hockey and, of course, all the news around the league. And finally, the Frenchy quiz at 10 o'clock p.m. So I look forward to see you, everybody. Michael, and for the rest of the Family Hockey National Show, we wish you an amazing, great, blessing day. I will see you tonight, 9 o'clock. And tomorrow, Michael, we'll be back at 11 o'clock Eastern Time with 3 new teams talking about the GM performance. Have an amazing, great day, everybody.
Thanks, Frenchy. Thank you, everyone.